welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I are two literal train wrecks, walking around, and we want to send a message to the Lord in the blood of our passengers.
So to send this proper message, well, first we have to figure out how to write. So we are issuing a challenge. Each week we sit down and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
And then we come on the podcast, we read a story, we talk about what we learned in writing it, and then we talk about stories sent in by you wonderful listeners.
100%. We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
A Doof Media production. Do y'all like how we spice it up every week? I think we're super... I think the innovation on this podcast, on episode 98 of this podcast, I think that's what really brings up to new heights.
If you really think about it, if we look back to our first episode, we had no spice and or gusto. You know, we were just kids, right? Just kids. And now we're adults. Not kids. Slightly older kids.
I don't think we did not start. We've been doing this for how long?
It was sophomore year. I know this for a fact.
I think it's actually been 2 years. Because
it's been 2 years.
Because it certainly wasn't in 2020. That's for sure.
No.
It was
it would make sense because if we do this weekly and we have 99 episodes, that's 99 weeks.
Fuck.
Wow. Damn.
Someone put a stop to us. No. We've been doing this 2 years, our anniversary of making the Twitter account, at least, passed a bit ago.
Wow.
And this is episode 98. My goodness.
I know. What else can we do? I mean, we've done it all. we've read, we've wrote stories, we've wrote stories,
and we talked about them, and maybe we learned a little something along the way.
Now,
maybe that's what we should talk about on episode 100 is what is the thing? What is the one thing we learned along the way?
Yeah, we can talk about if we've actually gotten better as writers.
Do you think doing the right thing was doing the right thing?
I think doing the right thing was doing a thing that became writer as time went on.
Interesting.
Yes. But back on going deeper. I said a seizure, Jesus.
No, the problem is, it would have been fine if you were just chill about it.
But going deeper into what this episode is about.
You're right.
Even deeper. This is episode 98, part 2, because last week's episode was supposedly a mixture of 97 and 98. So this is the official 98, and the topic is disaster.
That's right. I wrote a story this week. I feel like I haven't for like a month. That's probably somewhat correct, actually. But I'm looking forward to it. It ended up just being a pretty like normal-ish sweet story, not that deep, but
okay.
I think it's a pleasant read.
Nice. What a words did you
student.
use of Lock, Warren, Peace, and Student?
But so all of them but student. But I think the characters are students, so it kind of cancels out.
I see. So you've basically used all of them.
The students are there in spirit, just like there was gonna be a joke there about like a students that like had died and their spirits lived on. I was gonna like name a school that's like known for having like a okay, just for the record, I'm thinking like a university, and I'm thinking like historically. I'm not talking about like anything within the last at least half century that was not
okay. All right.
But I was thinking like I don't know, a university that was known for like getting hit by the plague real hard or something. But that's you could just picture that I said a really funny thing that was like a little dark, but not that dark, you know?
Yeah, I am thinking that you had said UT, and then you would play the footage of that guy that was in that watchtower with the sniper.
Doc, that's Christ. Well, no, that's not what I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, little tangent. My grandmother was there when that happened.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, like she was on the campus for some reason. I don't know, because she never went to college, I don't think. But yeah, interesting.
I wonder why she was there. While we're trading parents at universities that had school shootings at the time that they were there, my dad was at the he was at the university where that one guy came into the classroom and killed all the women in there. I forget, in Canada.
I don't know about this.
Oh,
yeah, I
you probably heard of it, but I don't quite remember which university it is. But yeah, he was at the university when it happened. Not in that classroom, but at the university. So
that's crazy. So, like, did he ever go into, like, sort of, like, the lockdown procedures? Or?
They probably were not quite as developed as they are now. So.
Probably not, because, you know. I mean, who would think, right? That just seems so crazy. Like, this is a place of learning. Why is your gun here?
America. Fuck yeah. So, okay.
We're kind of the best.
We're kind of the best. We're number one in school shootings. We're number one in... Obesity, some other stuff.
We're number 16 in education.
We're pretty high in income inequality. I don't quite know what the ratio is, but... It's pretty great.
It's probably like 1 to 2.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, I could just get into my story.
Yes, please do.
I didn't name it, but I'm going to name it right now. I'm going to name it a scene I imagined during the snowpocalypse in Texas in 2021 that I imagined was kind of pleasant, but didn't happen with these people specifically.
Okay, nice.
That's wait the title.
To hear it. Oh, and where can I read this? If you haven't posted.
I haven't, but I can share it with you if you're
it's
impatient and greedy.
I can listen.
You just can't fucking, like, just wait a minute, just hear it, but whatever. Manage people and links.
I'm a very good listener.
Ready for round 3? She whispered as sensually as possible into Maya's ear. Maya blushed and pushed Alyssa away. Stop that. Just because you get me flustered does not mean you're going to win, especially if you keep picking Sub-Zero. I just think he's really cool. Maya groaned. You are such a geek. Listen, I don't need any more reminders of the cold, okay? Alyssa scooched over and snuggled into Maya. Then, she took Maya's jacket and unzipped it, ignoring her protests, and wrapped the insides of the jacket around her, zipping it up from the inside. What are you... Oh my god, Maya said, as Alyssa snuggled into position, her hand sticking out the bottom of the jacket. It was a big jacket, one of Maya's father's from the back of the closet, but it was still not meant for 2 people. Maya sputtered Alyssa's hair out of her mouth. Warm enough? Alyssa asked. She hit start on the game. I can't believe you, having to resort to dirty tactics to... Hey! The match started and Alyssa moved her head to block Maya's view. I'm warning you, this is not fair, Alyssa cackled while mashing B. The screen went black with a boo, and the little sounds of power, the dull roar of the heater, the intermittent knocks of the pipes, even the most imperceptible whine of the light bulbs, vanished as fast as the light did. There was silence, broken only by the occasional rasp of the wind outside and the sound of their breathing. It was peaceful, even while the outside pressed inward. Alyssa sighed, leaning back into her girlfriend. There it goes again. Bye-bye, heater, Maya said. Alyssa looked back at her. I feel bad for all the people left alone right now. They don't have a cute girl to warm their jacket. Excuse me, this is not your jacket, Maya said, offended. Then why am I wearing it? Alyssa wiggled. This would really suck if I didn't have you. I hope your dad's okay, Maya said. It was kind of a non sequitur. Alyssa frowned. Yeah, he's fine. Probably putting those wilderness survival skills to work. Probably yelling at my mom in the process. You're not worried about them? She sighed, looking up out the window. The snow was a good few inches up the window, frost extending some ways beyond that. Already the room was feeling colder, without the heater on. It was nice inside the jacket, though. Maya's breathing was slow, but soft. Cool. Her chest was warm against Alyssa's back, breathing, pressing against her, in sync and out of sync with her own breathing. They don't worry about me, except in the ways that hurt me, so no. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. I didn't mean to bring it up. It's okay. Alyssa shrugged, and the motion strained the jacket. Maya's jacket. Of her dad, that she probably missed a heck of a lot. Suddenly, Alyssa felt restrained, uncomfortable, too hot. She undid the zipper, a little fast and forceful. When she saw Maya's concerned expression, Alyssa smiled and zipped Maya back up. There, warm. Keep cozy for me, she said as she stood. The cool air of the apartment was nice, refreshing, though it was a reminder that they'd only have the heat for so long before it was all sapped out into the cold. Where are you going? Outside, Alyssa said, pulling off a short house sock and pulling on a long one for her boots. Hey, wait, no. Maya got up, blankets falling to the floor. Alyssa imagined all that trapped heat escaping into the air and then being sucked outdoors, wasted. I just want to go outdoors, take a walk. It's no big deal. Alyssa, no. It's freezing outside, and you're upset. Maya knelt down and put her hands on Alyssa's shoulders. Talk to me. Why do you want to leave? Alyssa shook her head. Was she upset? She had to think about it. Do those things her therapist told her. Actually pay attention to what she was feeling. Annoying, but she let out a breath. I guess I feel a little trapped. Feels better to face it than hide and be all stuck and tight and... Hun, it's alright, but going outside in the snow isn't really facing it, is it? Alyssa shook her head in response. Maya's face was full of concern, her brown eyes studying Alyssa's every feature to try to better understand how her girlfriend was feeling. Suddenly, Alyssa felt awful. I'm sorry. What for? I'm sorry I'm being like this, going back and forth. I don't want you to feel like you have to walk on eggshells around me. Alyssa hugged herself. That's how it was around my dad. I don't want to be him. Different, but the same. Hey, it's okay. It's not a good time, right? It's cold. We haven't had any really tasty meals for a bit. Tomorrow doesn't feel like it's going to be better. Our game was just shut off mid-match. And it just reminded you of a really harsh conversation. And you lost 3 games in a row with no chance of a rematch, Maya added, as a joke. Softer, she finished. It's okay to be upset. Not when it constantly leads to fights. Is this a fight? Maya asked, an eyebrow raised. Was it? It felt like one. Alyssa felt tense, guilty, but they weren't shouting. You're not mad at me? No, of course not, hun. Okay. See, it's okay. You're safe. I'm safe. We're going to stay warm, and when the power comes on, I'm going to lock in a 3rd win and ban you from using Sub-Zero. Yeah. Alyssa put on a show of brightening. And hey, I don't think I didn't notice you missing those tasty meals. That's more you than me, you know. I'm happy eating nothing but ramen for days on end. And I heard that tummy grumbling, or more accurate to say, I felt it. She poked Maya in the tummy. Maya's mouth hung open. Hey! She rubbed her tummy. It's not my fault we waited to eat till after the power went out again. Come on. Alyssa headed to the pantry. I had half a plan involving the beans and the random cans you have. I'm sure we can do something fun with it, and the stove still works. All right, Maya said. You okay? Alyssa embraced her girlfriend and gave her a little kiss. Yeah, I am. I'm good right here. She tried to break away to get cooking, but Maya kept a hold on her. You're warm, Maya said, buried into Alyssa's chest. Alyssa smiled. Maya was warm too.
All right, so I really dig this story. I think it's I think it's fairly cute for most of it, and I really do like how you get a good understanding of this relationship that we do see here, and the and kind of how the snow could force them to really talk about it. So I guess I already probably know the answer to this, but what was your inspiration for wanting to create these characters in this situation?
So the writing process was basically I wanted to. The theme was disasters, and I had in mind obviously the disaster that happened very recently,
the big one.
Yeah, and I remember thinking about during that time about like how nice it would be to be with another human being, and like almost it would turn into a pleasant experience of like you're with someone that you really love, and like yes, the outside is cold and you're experiencing some bad times with not having the food you want, not being able to cook how you want, your normal life interrupted, but you're with someone that you really care about, so it kind of turns out okay. And so that's how it started, and then basically as I went, I was just kind of just riffing off of characters and off of just phrases that come to my mind, off of like experiences and past relationships and stuff. I definitely feel like there's a lot more I could have done, and I feel like if I were to go back, I would definitely like make this a lot more poetic by tying in stuff about the like outside pressures of the snow, and the strained relationship between Alyssa and her parents, and there would just be a lot more themes and things of that nature rather than just like the cute story.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it was, I mean, I put out a story, so it counts for something.
And I mean, really, I think it is a really great basis for something larger. I mean, I enjoy how it does start off with this very relatable, cute scene of someone picking Sub-Zero and always winning, because Sub-Zero in most Mortal Kombat games is a fairly broken character, but we all love him. But yeah, I just really do like how it started with this very cute space, and then we delve further into possible problems within the relationship, while also giving us backstory within the family. Like I really liked the part when the point of view character started to sort of think about their mother and father, and how they are probably getting into it. And just sort of, you kind of see how that affects them, and also how that changes the current conversation. So I think there are like a lot of really great parts within this, and of course it ends in a very cute place. So yeah, and I mean, you were just talking about what you would do differently on a second go. Is there anything specific that you feel is like really lacking for you? And if so, how would you sort of go about changing that?
I feel like it's like kind of like there's one brick placed off of the whole like emotional conflict. Like there's a hint of it. Yeah. You can kind of imagine like where it would go, but most of the emotional journey and stuff isn't there. And like the process was that I would come up with a line, I would put it down, and then, I got close to my deadline, and I kind of just had to connect the dots that I did have, without extending them all the way out to where I would want them to go. But definitely I would, I think I would add a lot more of the, not just like the background problem of, her parents, but extend that into their relationship of, these are a lot of, stuff that has appeared in some of my relationships. There's like the sort of cycles that people get stuck in, of like the Alyssa struggle there of I didn't quite extend it all the way out, but of wanting to getting upset, and then feeling guilty about expressing that on someone else, but also then like feeling guilty about that too, about like the getting more upset part is not helping, and then feeling more upset about that and not being able to like handle that guilt. And then of course like her comparing herself to her parents and maybe their relationship as well, and reflecting on that. And maybe ending somewhere with like definitely even more so portraying Ilsa as like a very flawed person, and maybe Mia is also like a flawed person in a different way. But maybe ending still on a hopeful note, but maybe like with a greater understanding of what the rockiness is.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and that was present. I mean, this idea of this guilt, which, of course, is something that I wish you had the proper time to go into more. I almost have this possible idea of maybe this story starting a bit later, like maybe while they are actually cooking dinner. Because it really did feel like in the beginning that, it's the starting up of a car, right? You are getting the ball rolling with these characters, but there really isn't that driving force, that could possibly get me to go to the next page. But yeah, I mean, I think if you definitely did have more time, this could be something really strong. Because I mean, I felt these sort of conflict within each character, and you do have this really nice ability when you do read out loud to bring these characters to life and give them like a really strong voice, and it's also very apparent within your writing itself. So yeah, I just hope if you do choose to like go back on that you do stick to your guns, because the way that you write dialogue is really strong.
Well, thank you. If I was going to, something that was coming to mind is like, if I hadn't had Maya stop her before she goes out, like if Alyssa actually had basically stormed out and Maya has to chase after her, and that's like a whole conflict of like, hey, why are you going off in the cold, and like this is when it's kind of ridiculous
outside,
and building off of that, I think might have been a better way to increase the stakes a little bit more and have that driving force.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. I think I have two more big questions. One is, when it came to writing this, of course, we all have our struggles. But what was the biggest struggle for you when it came to cranking out this piece? Was it time? Was it content? Yeah.
It's mostly just writer's block stuff of like getting distracted by literally anything. But once I had it down, like I've talked about this plenty of times, so I don't want to like. I'll just like call back to all the other times I've talked about like putting down whatever felt right was a lot better than like having to slog through every little bit, and then going back and connecting those bits was a lot better. What was funny is that like I would be writing one section and then have a thought of like, oh, this would be really good to put in later, and then thinking about, oh my gosh, I'd have to write so much in between here and there, right? And so I'd press enter twice, and then I'd leave the thought, and then maybe I'd like continue off of there. And then when I went back to connect them, I realized I actually could have just like the difference between these two sections was literally like one line, or not even one. Like they were fine next to each other. So just something funny of like the imagined difficulty of what I need to put in is a lot higher than the reality of it.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel that. And I mean, I don't know how you would. I mean, I think it is smart to write down what you want to write, so that you do keep the ball rolling. But no, that is very interesting that those lines could also reside right next to each other, but you don't like pick up on that till later. Yeah, and I guess the last and most crucial question is, after doing the right thing for the 99th time, what, if anything new, have you learned from this experience?
I just need to get back into it. More practice. That's basically it.
Yeah. Practice does make perfect.
Does it? Is that how the...
Well,
is that how it goes?
I mean, the hope is that by doing practice, you get better. But, you know, there is, like,
someone should do a podcast
the concept
about that.
and idea of perfect doesn't really exist. But that's a whole other situation.
That's very true. We should strike perfect from the dictionary.
Mm-hmm. Make it just in perfect or semi-perfect.
We should change the word perfect to just mean pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Like, good enough. Satisfactory. That should be perfect. But I think it's prime time, if you think I am correct in this assumption, to move on to our listeners' submitted story section.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you to everyone who did submit your story. We love reading them, and we love it when you send them even more. So the stories we are going to be talking about today are by Matt Said Words, Sarah Penguin, No Goodbye, Calinero 985, Hugo Mangers, and Nipotin. All right, so up first is by Matt Said Words with A Muddy Basement.
That's right. So this story starts off with a young family around their TV. The father is fiddling with the antenna to make sure that they can see the news, and the connection goes through for just a second, and the mother, Cindy, she sees the text as saying that the tornado is west of them and heading east, so it's heading right for them, which it's just a fun line to read. It's heading right for us. I don't know. It's funny to me. Anyway, and so Cindy is in a bit of a panic. Outside their house is one of the few finished houses in the entire area, but there's a house with a basement just across the way. So she goes and takes her baby in her arms. She climbs down into the basement and waits for her husband to show up, Dennis, who was supposed to go get some stuff. And she waits and waits, and he just doesn't arrive, and the wind howls above them, and he just doesn't come down. And she starts worrying so much about him. What's she gonna do if he's been literally sucked up by a tornado? Is she like alone now? And these horrible thoughts. But she climbs out. She's covered in mud because the basement was not finished, and water was pouring in, and her baby is crying. She climbs out and starts heading to her home, and that's where she sees him, right in the middle of the road, packing up a camera. He was taking pictures, and she's furious at him, and he explains, and he ends up laughing. He says that it turned out the tornado was actually heading south and not in their direction, and so he just couldn't find her, and didn't know that it was so dirty down there. So they go in and they get cleaned up, and it's a little sweet ending to cap off a bunch of really worrying emotions.
Definitely, yeah. I was very happy that it basically ended pretty good. I mean, I was invested in this story. I think the prose really does work to really fill out the sort of visuals within this story, and I really do enjoy how it starts off in this place that's really relatable. I mean, at least for me, we have all had those like really stormy nights when pretty much everything is knocked out, and you have to mess with the antenna just to get some sort of entertainment, right? But I do find it funny, but also like kind of why the dad didn't try harder to really look for them and just said, they're fine, and then started taking pics. I thought that was a like really funny moment, and I do really like within this story that is really ripe with this sort of tension and this worry that it turns out to be all fine at the very end. So really great job.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing is the passage of time in it happens. The statement of it, I think, is pretty quick and soft. She says she waited in the hole for what felt like hours, and I think that was kind of like the entire statement of the passing of time. And I think it may be emphasizing a bit of how like interspersing like after an hour or whatever, she worried about this or that, and maybe like extending out that passage of time a bit for us to feel a little bit more, because it's something that I missed, and I had to go back and check it again.
Yeah. But thank you very much to Matt Said Words. And up next is by Sarah Penguin with Apocalypse.
So here Julia is has just ripped out the insides of a deer, and it's upset her stomach. And because it's it's a really gory thing. But Bridget, another girl there, is basically like heckling her for throwing up and not just taking care of it. And there's some sort of like banter back and forth. There's this implication that they're in a coven, a bunch of women out in the woods. So and we go through it, and we sort of find out what's going on with the world. There's been some sort of apocalypse. It's left vague, but our characters are also confused about it. It seems like the army is surrounding buildings, and there's like some buildings toppling, and this is still after a very, very long time of it going on. And they worry about their parents as well. But as we go through, we have a little bit of relationship building between Bridget and Julia that they were previously dating at some point before all of this happened. Now they're together, and there's some like tension where they're sort of remaking a connection in this terrible time, but at the same time they there's still that there's still the breakup in the past and the damaged relationship back then. And they bring up that old argument that caused it, and we can kind of see a little bit of both sides. But now in this post apocalypse, setting everything back up, it's kind of like those problems are not that relevant anymore. That argument's not super relevant anymore. So maybe they can kind of try again, is sort of the implication. And they end up basically promising to cuddle again tonight.
Yeah, so I really do like this story. I like how the nature of this apocalypse is so ambiguous, because we aren't really hit with the answer. It's just like, oh, it could be this, it could be this. But I do like how that is not the main focus of the story, and it decides to focus a lot more on these two characters who did have this sort of connection. And I do like how we go into that and sort of traverse how those old issues aren't really too relevant anymore. So I mean, overall, I just think the story is constructed very well, and it does ask enough questions to garner another version. So really great job.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed the background that was built and sort of different ways that they talked about their past, not only with each other but also with their families and things. Yeah.
Well, all right. Up next is by No Goodbye with Retreat.
So we open here with sort of implication that the planet's going to end. I think is the implication. Or otherwise, there's something worrying going to happen later on with the world just dying, and humanity is launching spaceships. But that's not really what we're talking about right now. Here, Maya and Sandra, are they're on a road trip together. They're driving away. In the background, they see that ship flying up, and they sort of regret that they can't go on. But the only way to have gone on is with basically a ticket that you get by being in a family. But Maya's family, the only way that she could have gone with them is if she renounced her homosexuality. So she wasn't able to get the ticket with them, and now she's not gonna. She regrets how what a like a petty way to go, and how low her parents sunk, and she's kind of, you know, ranting about that to her girlfriend Sandra, and it's like finally a release to finally be angry at her and things. But they continue on driving, and it's like there's some, you know, we really tell how much they care about each other and how Sandra is supporting her, and Maya, at the very least, I mean, she sacrificed being able to go into space and away from this dying planet to be with Sandra. And there's some cute little flirting stuff, even though they're like clearly in a committed relationship where they get a little bit flustered with each other, and it's very cute. But they tell each other that they love each other. They're going somewhere where they're going basically to a bunker far away, and it's not going to last, you know, forever. But since they'll be together for a while, that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. I really dig how this story focuses on a personal tragedy. You know, even though the world is at its end, we are focusing on these two, and like the reasons as to why one of them wasn't able to go on the ship, and sort of how they're pining for this last beacon of hope, while at the same time feeling very comfortable with each other. So yeah, I just think that the sentiment that the story is trying to get across is really, really strong, and it does help me really care for these characters, and, you know, at least hope for their safety. So yeah, really, really great job. I really like this one.
Yeah, I really like that notion of with the struggle with the parents, of how you know, you really hope for someone to change when it really comes down to it, and then they don't, and you just kind of have to live with that. And yeah, I like the exploration of that in this piece.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right. Up next is by Calinero 985 with Old Habits.
So this is an interesting story. We open with an intriguing line. Heads up, the dead kid called from across the quad, right? Mm-hmm. And as we go, so the main thing in the story is the slow reveal to us of what the situation that Kaylee is in, what has happened to this world. Mm-hmm. And so here outside there is a dead kid playing frisbee, and Kaylee can kind of tell the time of day just by, you know, what he's saying and at what point. And so she's inside of her dorm with a bunch of other girls who are sleeping on the floor, and they have to keep out of the way of the other dead people. So the implication that a lot of people are dead, and they just do their routine throughout the day of whenever this first happened, or when the mist came in, which at first was just misty, and then there just became more and more water, and eventually it was like it was tall enough to like envelop people, and during the night basically everyone that was enveloped by mist just vanished. And we sort of not just vanished, but the next day we're back in this sort of zombified form, carrying out their daily routine, the routine that they were first on, but dead and rotting. And anyone that tries to budge them gets beaten to death or ripped to pieces by this walking script zombie.
Yeah. So I really dig this concept. I mean, it's something that I think I've only seen once before, so it's a really fresh take on quote unquote zombies, right? But I really do like how this story focuses a lot more on the really personal sadness that this person is feeling. I mean, they have feelings of being left out while also trying to grasp with this sort of new reality. And I really do like the moment when she kind of looks at the zombie playing frisbee with a certain amount of envy, which really does kind of bring across the point to where, like, even though they are in this sort of zombified state, it seems that they can still go on with a section of their life. So yeah, this story raises a lot of questions. It is constructed really well, and I really dig the voice. So really great job.
Yeah, I thought it was such an interesting setup, and obviously the whole mystery of it is incredibly intriguing. Mm-hmm. And obviously, as this is a do the right things, where I don't imagine that there's like a huge backstory of like, oh, why is this here? What is it? Where did it come from? Is it aliens or what? But I think that's what's so interesting about you just put out this mystery and people like need to know and want to know all about it. So yeah, I'm really interested in this idea, and I love, just seeing a mystery like that by just writing something strange.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right. Up next is by Nipotin with Vignette 2.
So, as the title suggests, this is a very short piece, just describing someone being dragged into a barn, snow in their mouth. And we have dialogue without quotations, which sort of makes it. Actually, I wouldn't know exactly how to characterize how that changes the how you read it, but I guess it makes it more feel like thought, perhaps.
Similar, yeah. I mean, I think since it blends very well with the normal voice, it almost seems like the whole thing is a thought, but it also delves in between that and description. So yeah, it's very interesting how this story is constructed.
Sure, yeah. But what we see here is that there is a man and a girl with this other man having been dragged in, presumably like tied up and unable to resist. And the big-backed man tells the small girl, hands her a gun, and basically teaches her how to shoot this random guy who pleads to them in his final moments, and it is very he gets executed by this little girl, apparently, which is it's surprising and shocking, but it's an interesting scene to be set up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after reading this, I'm just hit with the question, what happened? What happened to really cause this? But at the same time, I really do enjoy what we have here. I mean, it is definitely sort of taking on a different form of writing that at the same time really lets you get deeper into the emotions that are happening right here, So I don't know. I just really like it, and I think that because it's so ambiguous, the only thing we can really latch on is this really strong emotion. As this man is pleading for his life, as the girl is holding the gun, and I think that this story is just really strong, focusing on this one sole moment. So great job.
Yeah. I always love these short sort of just imagery pieces and how we just enter this idea of the scene and then we leave it, because what else do we need to know about it, really?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, all right. Our final story for this week is by Hugo Magners with Writer's Block.
So this is an interesting story, and it sort of feels a little bit meta as we start. But as we go, basically this writer, he 4 years ago wrote a book sort of about superpowers, sort of an autobiography called Mindful Man. It was very successful, and everyone wanted him to make a sequel. Everyone was putting pressure on him to make a sequel, but whenever he sat down, he just couldn't. He did literally everything else but write the sequel that he was supposed to do, and that was a lot of pressure. And that's when he got a solution in an email. This thing called Hypnotech, which would have been it was basically like a 2-day spa, where then he was going to get hooked up to this technology that would basically suck out all of the ideas that he had, and after 2 days, he be able to use those ideas and do whatever he wants with them. So he goes there, and it's $500,000, but he does it anyway. And he goes, but when he wakes up, it's been more than 2 days. It's been 2 years. And they take him to a room that is just covered with books and movies and things. 256 novels, 14 movies, 12 original TV series, and they're all credited to the acronym that he agreed to sign under. And so apparently, and also that he was the first person to ever undergo this treatment. And he leaves, and now he writes directly to the audience that he needs help, that this sounds ridiculous, but it's real. All of those books published under Rupert Pupkin is they're not Rupert's actual books. They're his books, and he's been stolen from. And now this thing called Hypnotech is just completely gone, and he needs people to help him. And that's when it sort of it abruptly sort of ends with an editor's note from R. Pupkin that says that this is just a fiction, and unfortunately the writer of this blog passed away hours after this. How tragic. Which sort of sets up a little mystery there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they didn't steal all of your ideas, this seems like something I would do. Just suck out all my thoughts and then make shit with it. But but yeah, I think this story is really great because I mean, as you said, at first I thought this would be a funny meta story, but then as we sort of get deeper, we find out that this is more so of a sci-fi horror, and I think it's handled really well. I mean, at first we are learning more about this company after getting what the core issue is, and then it just sort of takes this like left turn when he wakes up 2 years later, and then there's just so much that has happened since. So yeah, I think that this story is really strong because it feels like that there's nothing extra added. It just keeps pushing forward, and then it ends in this very I would say spooky place. So I mean, overall, yeah, I just really loved this story, and I would love to see maybe something more from this world, because this is a really nice core concept. So great job.
Yeah, one thing that I really enjoyed about it is just this is a feeling that I've definitely had, and I wish it got there was a machine for this, but obviously I think there's stuff that would be lost in that. Actually, I think that's something that could have been explored a little bit more, of like what particularly is like the loss of this author. What is he the most upset about? Is it that they're doing it under, is it that it was more than what they told him it would be? Is it that he's actually not getting any of the credit? But in that case, it's like, did he really actually write it because it was really just his ideas and not his actual like work? Is it because they've stolen all his money, or whatever it is? I think that would be something to add in some more information on, and maybe put some thematic twists on that.
Yeah. Did it ever go into if he got paid for it?
I think it seemed like it was implied when he was going into it that he would be.
Okay.
But I think it's sort of implied afterwards that he wasn't. So I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. But either way, really great job. And all right, those are all of our stories for this week of Do the Right Thing. So we would like to give a big old thank you to everyone who did submit a story. So thank you very much to Matt Said Words.
Thank you to Sarah Penguin.
Thank you, No Goodbye.
Thank you, Calanero985.
Thank you, Nipotin.
And thank you, Hugo Magners.
And we would also like to say thank you to everyone who did leave 2 or more comments. Leaving comments can not only allow you to show your own views on your own story, but you are providing someone else with crucial feedback that can help both of y'all become better writers. So, thank you very much to Haunt of the Heron, Matt Said Words, No Goodbye, and Sarah Penguin. Thank you so much for leaving comments.
Hell fucking yeah. I always appreciate seeing comments. And the discussion going back and forth and things like that. Y'all are fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to be like all of these wonderful writers and submit your stories to Do the Right Thing, you can do that by going to /r/Do the Right Thing on Reddit. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
Then we come on the podcast, we read. I'm just kidding. I almost go through. Yeah, if you want to find out the words as soon as they come out, the best place to do that is on Twitter, which actually I forgot to post the words on Twitter today, so I'll have to do that right after we finish this. Our Twitter is @RightThingCast. You can also follow just Doof Media in general, @DoofMedia, where you get notifications on all the wonderful stuff that we're doing. Not literally everything, but whenever there's, a particularly special thing. We just did a book club on the book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I thought was really, really cool. I only tuned in for a little bit of that because I haven't actually read the book. But if you ever read that book, there's where you go. And there's always so much else. The Deconstructing Directors series on Guillermo del Toro is still continuing. They covered Pacific Rim just a couple weeks ago. They covered Crimson Peak just recently, and I think probably The Shape of Water is just coming up. I'm not quite sure what day, but yep. And lastly, a little plug, or 2 plugs actually, on the Pale Reflections podcast. Even if you're not reading Pale, they started doing a role-playing game on it, which I forgot to mention. It's called Pace. It's sort of a setting that's kind of the setting of Pale and Pact just a bit, but it's also got its own twist. And it's done by Ruben and Elliot, and their intro is fantastic, and they've got some fun characters, and it's done with some other people of the community, so that's really cool. The very last thing we're doing is, so we've had a tradition in the past 2 years of doing a sort of March Madness sort of thing. With the first year was characters from Worm, and then the second the second year was characters from Ward, and now that Scott and Matt are covering Kingslingers, they want to hold off doing all the characters in the Stephen King books until they cover some more other King books, not in the Dark Tower series. So instead, they're doing a March's Madness of all the movies that the Doofcast has ever covered. So if you want to participate in the voting for that, you just go to the Doof Media website, and it's right there. So that's how you would get voting on what the best movie is and how they compare. Although if you do vote, try to even if it's a movie you haven't seen, try to be fair to it, because someone, and I know who the someone is. I know who the someone is. Someone voted for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie, and I was just so. And the person that did that knows who they are, and I'm extremely ashamed to ever have worked with them. So I need y'all to rectify that sort of mistake whenever it appears.
I don't know. It's a pretty good movie. Just saying.
No, Jarvis. No, don't be the second person that I have to shun in my life, please.
Yeah, well, all right. That is all that is happening in Doof Media, but let's talk about what's happening next week on Do the Right Thing, episode 99 of Do the Right Thing. So next week, our topic will be regret. So y'all can.
I didn't think about what the implications of our special episode 99. Coming so far in the podcast, and then the theme being regret. That was not. Intentional. I don't regret making this podcast. Who knows? We might have a guest on for that. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. I'm trying to get Scott to be on, and I think that's when we had him scheduled, but I'm not entirely sure. So if who knows? Maybe we'll change the theme for him, because I do want him to write a story. So I don't want to constrain him too much. But we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
And then the 100th episode will be something neat as well, and probably 101 as well. We'll do something.
Yeah, we're just gonna mix it up for as long as we possibly can.
But yeah, write a story about regret. Explore that idea. What does it mean to regret? How does it differ from guilt? How do we deal with it? Where does it inspire? Is it good or bad? And to what extent?
Yeah, definitely. And the words to accompany this topic are noble, center, mosque, and apology.
That's right. So a noble, which is someone that is sort of aristocratic, but in like the positive senses.
It is a rank.
So it is a rank. You can be a noble, or something can be of noble rank. It can be used in different ways, or someone can have a noble bearing, which is to be all those virtues of the aristocracy that they never really had, but we can kind of imagine them having. Honorable and a bunch of other things. The center, which is I thought we had done that word before, but apparently we hadn't. Which is the origin, the middle, farthest from the outside, the middle. Then we have an apology, which is when you say sorry to someone and you mean it.
You have to mean it.
Exactly. I think that fits quite well with regret. And then finally, a mosque, which is a place of worship for Muslim people. So I don't know if I need to elaborate on that. That's just it's a building. It's a building,
self-explanatory.
Folks. Yep.
So, what story are you going to grace us with next week?
Good question. I'm gonna write about this pair of nobles that they were the true people that controlled this one city, the city of Kabul. They controlled the city of Kabul, and they were so very powerful. And the Sultan, who was actually centered out of Baghdad. I don't even know if these are actually the same country. I'm really sorry. They were probably both controlled by the Persian Empire at some point, at the very least. Or a Persian Empire. There was a lot of... Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not doing good already. These two nobles, they wanted to put a mosque at the center of town. Why? Because they had burned the other mosques down because there was a siege and they didn't surrender, even though they should have. So as an apology, they built this mosque, and on the final day, they were cutting the red tape, and then lightning came and smited them because paying a lot of money for a pretty building does not make up for being a dick. So...
Okay. You know what? I think that holds a really good message. So the story I will be writing next week, which probably doesn't have a good message whatsoever, it's gonna be centered around this very suave character named Flynn Lynn. And you see, Flynn Lynn is right in the middle, the center of the city. He works with the criminals and the cops, making sure that both of them never has the advantage over the other. Well, of course, since he is such a prominent figure within this city, a lot of people try to investigate him. It's trying to find out more and more about this sort of mythical guy who's just floating through the city. Well, after one incident where his wife does die, he sees the error of his own ways. He sees that maybe it isn't good just to play the field, and maybe you do need to stand for something. So he goes to the police chief and says sorry, gives him the most sincere apology he possibly can. And then he goes to a mosque because he is Muslim.
What a good noodle.
Yeah, he is a really good noodle. And, I think choosing the side of good versus evil or a neither is a really good idea.
Hey, tangent, right after the episode's over. So there's like this notion all the time that there always has to be balance, and I always think that's so fucking stupid because what balance between what? Like
good and evil.
They say like good and evil, but like it's okay. It's like
it's very ambiguous.
to balance every birth, there has to be a murder. No, that's dumb. Like, you just don't have murder. Just do something else.
That is
like,
true. That is true.
For every kind word, you have to get an insult. No, you don't. Honestly, you can just have kindness and just kindness.
I think that concept is a thing because a lot of bad things happen to people. So people would like to believe that no matter how much bad you are going through, it always swings back. You know, there is that balance. But really, there's no balance whatsoever. I mean, hell, everything could go horribly wrong, and there's no guarantee that it will go horribly right.
Horribly right, my favorite. That's all, folks.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.